The 9th of December, only one game, so not a lot to talk about. Maybe we'll get some questions. I'll talk about a couple of injury updates as well, but it should be a quick one. This is the Monday pre-game show. Let's go balls deep.
I'm the type to get shit done. You the type to observe. March Madness on my speakers, but today's November 23rd. Cause I'm loud in the blunt, yeah. I don't say what I want, yeah. Probably somewhere sunny getting tan. Foreign women in the sun, yeah. That's all that I need. That's all that I need. That's all that I need. Got my brothers with me. Got my brothers with me and my mama's healthy. That's all that I need.
Welcome to the Balls Deep podcast, brought to you by Fantasy Basketball International. I'm your host, Adam King. Find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at AdamKing91. Blue Sky is technically AdamKing91.bsky.social, I believe, but I think you can still find me by just typing that in. We are on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Please go and subscribe somewhere, wherever it is that you listen. And if you are listening or watching on Twitter, go and subscribe anyway to one of those. Always helps. We are also part of the Old Man Squad at Old Man Squad on Twitter, at Dan Besbris on Twitter, and then Dan is on Blue Sky at Old Man Squad, just to complicate things. Only one game. There was no pre-game or post-game show yesterday. I had mentioned that on the Saturday post-game show, I think. Went to the movies yesterday. So it was just too late. Couldn't do a show. But there were a lot of games yesterday, and there aren't many today. Only one. Just thought we'd touch on a couple of injury points first from yesterday. So Brandon Ingram, we know, suffered that ankle injury on Saturday night, I believe. My days are going to be all over the place here. Saturday night, I think. I said it didn't look too bad. I think I said that, which it didn't, but he wasn't able to put a lot of weight on it, which that's not always an indicator of how serious it is. But we know Brandon Ingram is prone to injuries, and once again, it looks as though he is going to miss at least a few weeks here. They're saying it's relatively significant, so that could be a month. We don't know. Ankle injuries are very temperamental. It's really just wait and wait and wait. So could be 3 weeks, could be 5. We just don't know. In the meantime, who is the pickup? Look, I think based on what we saw yesterday, I did say Trey Murphy would just move into the starting lineup, which he did. And we're just going to maybe get another few weeks of Brandon Boston. So if, like me, you forgot to drop him or held him, it might end up paying off. I think I added him in one league yesterday, and I've still got him in 2. Played 28 minutes, I believe, yesterday. Let me just pull this up. Brandon Boston Jr. I think it was about 28 minutes or 26 or something like that. Let's have a look. Game log. 28 minutes yesterday. 17 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 3 threes. Look, I mean, if he's going to get 28 minutes, if he's 25 plus minutes, he's probably borderline. So I think this works out if you had him. Obviously, if you have Brandon Ingram, it didn't work out with the injury. Franz Wagner was the other one. We did talk about him on the show that I did a couple of days ago. But at that point, we had no idea what the Magic were going to do. We were speculating what their rotation was going to look like. We found out yesterday, and it was sort of as expected. Cole Anthony looks like he will be the beneficiary. He had... look, I won't say he was awesome yesterday. I'm going to bring that up as well. But the minutes are what we're looking at there. We thought they needed someone who could score. It's not Contavious Caldwell-Pope, at least not consistently. He didn't really do anything yesterday, but it was Cole Anthony. He played 29 minutes. He came off the bench. I wouldn't worry about that. 14 points, 3 threes, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. 2 rebounds, 2 threes, a steal, 2 blocks. So I think he is probably the guy we need to add. But we also need to keep in mind that Paolo, as I said, this is a weird week. The Magic only have, again, let me have a look at the schedule. I should know this from my article I did earlier in the week. All right, Orlando Magic, where are you? Orlando have 2 games this week, which it's 2 or 1 this week. The Knicks could potentially have 3, but they have 2 games, so he is probably worth a look. Goga Bitadze also had to do a bit more. He had 21 and 16, something like that. No blocks, though, which was a little bit disappointing. But the points were good, rebounds are good. So we're going to get a little bit more of him, more of Cole Anthony. Suggs is going to have to do more, but this might only be for a week, maybe 2. So maybe you get 2, 3, 4 games out of Cole Anthony here, but on a week where there is not much in the way of streaming value, I'd go and give him a look. And I don't think there were any other significant injuries yesterday. I think there's a lot of teams that probably are giving guys the night off, basically, with a view to we've only got 1 game this week. So they can almost get a 1 to 2 weeks of rest by only missing 1 or 2 games. So I wouldn't worry too much. So guys like Ja Morant was out yesterday. The Evan Mobley one I might worry about a little bit. He actually suffered an ankle injury, which we saw. So keep an eye on that one. Look, something else I noticed yesterday watching the Spurs game. So Zach Collins didn't play much. He left with a back injury. But Wemby played and played relatively well, but he didn't look 100%, far from it. He was almost wincing, grabbing his back a couple of times. I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that lingers. And if Zach Collins is also out, I would just keep Charles Bassey on your watch list because I feel like he had a good game yesterday. We were watching it. I was watching it at the actually at the pub with my friend. Where are we? Yesterday's game. So he played 7 to 18 minutes yesterday, 16 and 11 with 4 blocks. I've talked about him. I've talked about liking his fantasy game in the past. So if Collins misses time here, and he also has a history of injuries, then Bassey will play as the primary backup, we would expect. And Wemby, this could be nothing. It could have just been that he hadn't played for a while. He was a bit rusty. But, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a missed game or 2 or they just throw a few in here or there. So I would just monitor Bassey. All right, I've got a couple of questions, but let's just get to the game very quickly. All right. New York, as I said, only 1 game tonight, New York at Toronto. So we're streaming anyone who has a pulse, really, for New York. Starters are all rostered, so we don't need to worry about those guys. McBride, we've talked about him all season as probably the only consistent streaming option on this New York roster. Tonight, I'll be looking at Precious Achiuwa. Karl Anthony Towns is still questionable. I don't believe we have an update, and they don't play for 4 hours, 3.5 hours. So we may not get an update for an hour or 2. It might be game time. But as I said, that there are teams, I believe, that are resting players with a view to either getting them extended rest or, in the Knicks case, playing in the in-season cup quarterfinal later in the week. So Towns could be given the night off here. And if that's the case, we had Obi Toppin. We had Jericho Sims start in the last game, but Precious Achiuwa played more minutes, did more stuff. And we have seen Achiuwa at the end of last year. He was pretty good. So if Towns is out, definitely Achiuwa. If Towns plays, I'd still even consider Achiuwa because maybe they just lighten Towns' workload a little bit. It is Tom Thibodeau. We know he doesn't like doing that, but on a night when there's only 1 game and you're just really clutching at straws, I would have a look at Achua. I would have a look at Campaign if he plays. He is questionable as well. If he doesn't play, maybe we get some more Tyler Kolek in there. But I think with McBride playing, Kolek would probably play, but it might only be 10 minutes. So for the Raptors, who are we looking at here? Well, Barnes, Dick, Barrett, Pirtle should all be rostered. Agbaji has sort of fallen off a cliff as we thought he might do, but maybe you just pick him up for tonight's game. Kelly Olynyk looked good in his first game back, only played about 15 minutes. Maybe that's going to increase slightly here. So Olynyk is probably someone I would have a look at. And beyond that, I guess Davion Mitchell if you're desperate, Jonathan Mobo if you're desperate. But there's no real injuries here other than Emmanuel Quickly. So they're relatively healthy. They don't have an in-season cup game coming up. So, yeah, unless this is a blowout, I don't think those guys will play too much. But that's the one game. So let's move away from the game. Let's get some questions going. We had one early. Where are we? From Hinny Mini. Would you trade Siakam for OG in a punt free throw percentage build? I think that's okay. I think in terms of overall value, they're probably relatively consistent, top 50, top 40-ish. So it might come down a little bit to what stats you need. OG is obviously very defensive heavy when it comes to fantasy value. Siakam is a little bit more assists or out of position assists and points. Everything else is fairly comparable. So yeah, I think I'd be okay with that. Obviously the risk, if we wanted to take into account an injury risk, it's probably a little bit higher for OG just because he's going to be playing 36 minutes a night and push to the point of breaking. So there is a little bit of risk there. But Siakam has also had a couple of injuries throughout his career. So I think if we're just looking at value, that's an okay trade for me. What's shining? Yeah, look, they are difficult. So he just said regular shows can be difficult with a full-time job. They can. My job is pretty cool, though. That it's flexible enough that I can do this. So, yeah, I'm very appreciative of that. I dropped Conley for McConnell. I think he has higher short-term upside and have not been convinced by Conley. Do I reckon that's a bad move? No, look, I think Conley's role is a little bit, has more upside. Just, I think he will get to 30 minutes. I don't think TJ will. I mean, TJ was phenomenal yesterday and didn't get to 30 minutes. Yeah, but look, you're right that Conley hasn't been great. Like, he's not the player he once was. I think if we get to the end of the season, Conley probably finishes as the higher ranked player. But in terms of right now, McConnell is playing really well. Halliburton isn't. Nembhard's still coming back. So I think it's fine. And if you are just looking for assists, then TJ is a very solid target. Steals as well. Not that Conley's bad, but yeah. Look, I think it's okay. I don't think it's terrible. I still, as I said, I do think Conley probably has slightly more a reliable outlook because we've seen McConnell's minutes drop into the teens at stages this season already. And I think Conley is sort of going the other way most of the time, but Conley's per minute upside is nowhere near what McConnell's is. So it's it's okay. So Chad asked, any word on the Bain severity? No, look, I think this is one of those injuries where I think it's been a bit of an ongoing thing. He's had a toe injury in the past. I feel like last year or the year before, he maybe missed a bit of time with a toe injury. But I do think this might have just been the Grizzlies getting some guys some rest. They played the Wizards yesterday, I think. So I think both he and Jar will be okay. There's no word that this is an ongoing thing. Chad is also coming down to Australia to see the Bushwhackers live at a music festival. There you go. I won't be there, but enjoy Australia. Claxton or Sohan, if he returns to the starting lineup in a 9-cat league. Look, again, a little bit. I would only be going Claxton there if you need blocks. He's probably close to a double-double, but 1.5 blocks. Look, Sohan's role is a little bit up and down, but he scores more typically. Doesn't get quite as many rebounds, but he is a good rebounder, and he'll get you closer to a steal a game. So, yeah, I would go Claxton if you need blocks. If you don't need blocks, I would go Sohan. Look, Shining Knight says he'll be sad if Towns doesn't play. He's one of the consistent. He's been really good. And these low volume weeks, you're right, you do need as much production as you can get from anyone on your team. Selfishly, I'm not bothered if he doesn't play because I picked up Precious Achua in the in industry pickup, just in the hope that maybe he plays 20 minutes tonight, but we'll see. But yes, Towns has been very, very good this season, and I don't think that like he's dealing with an ongoing injury or anything like that. So, have we just had some injury updates? Have we? We might have. Let's have a look. I want player news and injuries. I will just go through any recent. Sorry, I had seen this one already. So yes, PJ Washington is questionable tomorrow. Nagy could come back. He's been out with an illness. Jaden Hardy out. Kleber out. I haven't seen anything else. Just have a look at. Where are we? I think Wednesday's the first game of the in-season tournament. And the Knicks, I know the Knicks play the Hawks. Yeah, so Knicks play the Hawks on Wednesday. Warriors play the Rockets. And then on... where are we? Tuesday. Yeah, see... Dallas play tomorrow against the Thunder in their in-season tournament game. I think they probably try to play most of their guys. But again, they do have their sights set on a bigger prize this season. So let's have a thoughts on D'Lo. Okay, here's just one more question, and then we will head out. Thoughts on D'Lo? Christie, Dalton, and Gabe are ahead of him in the lineup, even with Austin and LeBron out. He was good yesterday. I'm pretty sure. I know he had one of the late games, so I was already out at dinner, but I feel like he had like 28 points or something. Where are we? He did 28 and 14. Came off the bench, played 34 minutes. It was against Portland. I know they only won by 9, but it wasn't this close. I mean, we got a Bronny James sighting, so that's how not close it was. So this was very good for D'Angelo Russell. But yeah, I'd need to see a week of this before saying he's back. I still think he should be rostered just because we know he can put up standard league value in 25 minutes. So he's definitely a hold, but yeah, I'm not convinced just by one game that he is back. All right, that will do for today's show. Now I will be back, so I'll be recording a show with Dan Besbris tomorrow, I believe, as long as everything in the Besbris household is going to plan with kids and that sort of thing. So there will be a show around this time tomorrow, I think, maybe slightly earlier. So that should be good. That should be a fun show. I'll do a post-game show today. Only one game to talk about. I'll probably try and squeeze in a pre-game show tomorrow as well, because there's only 2 games. And I believe I will be doing a show with... Now, when am I doing this is the question. Let me check my messages. Tomorrow. So I think I'll be doing a show with Karan Tawar. We'll be discussing our industry pickup matchup from last week. It went down to the wire, and I have some maths to do, but I believe if he had played TJ McConnell yesterday, he would have beaten me. And thankfully, he left him on the bench. I have to do some sums, though, to figure out what would have happened. So we'll be doing a show evening UK, which is... That might be early morning as well. Anyway, there will be a show coming out with Karan at some point in the next day or two, where we will be talking about... It was, it was a very close matchup. And yes, Chad, we are drafting. So yeah, actually starting a draft tomorrow, apparently, in a dynasty league. It's the Old Man Squad Dynasty league that we're starting. Well, starting tomorrow with the draft, which will be a slow draft. And I think we're going 20. There's 12 teams, I think, in the league. I haven't read the rules. I'll just figure them out as I go. I think there's 12 teams in the league, and we're going 22 players deep. So it will be a long draft. I might give some updates as we go. Dynasty obviously isn't my specialty, but I am in 3 Dynasty leagues, so I'm getting better. I have the 9th pick. I don't know what pick Chad has. Let me just have a look. Chad could just put it in the chat. That would be quicker than me going into Fantrax and waiting for it to load. Here we go. So Old Man Squad Dynasty League, opening the draft room. Okay, so I have the 9th pick. Chad has the 6th pick, it looks like. Eric Ong is in there, Josh Millman, Tank Kamish. So that's I think Jeffrey is running it. Jeffrey is part of the Tank Commander podcast. So he's running this. So yeah, it should be fun. It's sort of weird doing a draft at this time of the year. And yes, Shining Knight, you're probably right. Dynasty pick kind of wins for the next few years because they will pick Wemby. Look, they probably will. Jokic will still go relatively high. I have no idea who I'm going to take at 9. The draft starts at about 1 a.m. my time, so I'll probably be picking when I wake up tomorrow. So it will be a busy morning with all of my shows and things going on tomorrow, and a work Christmas party squeezing in there as well. And yes, Cooper Flag also. But we can't draft Cooper Flag, unfortunately, at the moment, despite the fact I think he probably would go pretty high if we did. All right, that will do for today's show. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm Adam King. This has been the Balls Deep pregame show. Until next time, catch up.
You just listened to another episode from the Fantasy Basketball International Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us. And for more information about joining our community, please check out our website at fbibasketball.com.